What is going on, everyone? Welcome to this edition of the Second Chance Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chance Thyhsen. I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who shared, liked, and rated on the Second Chance Sports Challenge. That show did awesome. My ratings were awesome. I am working on so many big guests. I'm just so ecstatic with how that show went. And again, I can't thank all of you enough. It has been an absolute whirlwind and craziness since that show's happened. And so just huge thanks to y'all again. It seriously means the world to me. I mean, I went from 0 to 20 subscribers on YouTube in, I think it was 2 days. We're on day 4. We're over 250 views. It is it's crazy. Between the audio and the video, we're over 250 views. So yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to y'all again for liking, rating, subscribing, sharing, everything you guys did to make that possible. And a huge shout out to my behind the scenes crew. It literally could not have been possible without them. They made everything happen for that show, and they made me look really good. So again, huge thanks to them, and let's get right into it. This is the first episode of my new weekly series of my NFL and NCAA coverage for every week. Again, every Wednesday. I've decided a time for you guys. It's going to drop at 2 o'clock every Wednesday. So y'all stay tuned for that. This is the first episode, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So if you listened to my too early week 1 predictions and the whole NFL schedule release episode, you know that I made all my week 1 picks that early. That was 6 months ago. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got made a fool this week. I went 57% on all my picks. I think maybe it was a little too early to do it, but you know what? I still enjoyed doing it, and for 6 months ago, coming straight off the draft, I personally thought it was kind of impressive. So let me go over that with you. So the week 1 games, we had the first game, the first Thursday night game. Everybody was back. Kansas City versus Houston. Everybody knew Kansas City was going to win that game. Obviously, departure of DeAndre Hopkins. He's gone now, and David Johnson actually did not terrible. Made Bill O'Brien at least not look like a complete idiot. I mean, he still is. But regardless, then you've got the Seahawks versus the Falcons. I personally picked the Falcons in this game. I thought that if they could come out and prove with Julio and Gurley, and if Matt Ryan could have played a better game, I thought that they would prove, beating Seattle, that they could help, be one of those teams in the NFC that was, a major impact now that Gurley's there, now that they had a halfway decent run game. But unfortunately, Seattle won that game 38-25, made Atlanta not look very good. But I think Atlanta still has a lot of breathing room. It's only week 1. So yeah, I think definitely there was room to improve, and let's move on to the next one. So then we've got Buffalo and New York. I picked Buffalo for this game. Buffalo won. Stephon Diggs didn't do a lot as I originally predicted, but regardless, the team still looks good. They're actually the AFC East needs to worry about them, and they are very, very good. They're better than New England in my opinion. And then after this one, we've got the Bears versus the Lions. I picked the Lions. I think everyone picked the Lions. This was what I called the Thanksgiving game. And I think we all watched it. DeAndre Swift absolutely blundered that end zone catch. I mean, if he would have caught that, they would have won the game. It was obviously with the last 5 seconds left. So had he caught that, they would have won the game. So Bears won that game 27-23. It was still a tight game, a close game. But I picked Detroit. So far I've gotten Atlanta and Detroit wrong. And then after this, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Yes, the Jaguars beat the Colts. The Colts lost. They did not. They showed a lot of hope, was more what got me. And the Colts looked so good on their first drive. I mean, it was so impressive to me. Marlon Mack went out with an ankle injury, and Jonathan Taylor took over. And Needham and Hine, I think it's Hines or Hine, whatever. He looked phenomenal too. He had 1 receiving touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. I believe it was a little over 100 yards rushing. And he played an awesome game and didn't really give Jonathan Taylor the room to shine. But Jonathan Taylor still, I mean, the acceleration after he catches a ball, I noticed on a few plays, is immaculate. I mean, it is just crazy. And so Colts lost that game. The Jaguars looked really good. I mean, they a bunch of rookies schooled veterans. I mean, the Colts defense did not do what they were supposed to do. The secondary was very lacking, and I feel like they were too comfortable. It just didn't did not go as I originally planned, and I don't think it went as they planned. And so I think there's a lot of room for breathing, just like Atlanta, a lot of room for improvement, which that's with everybody though. So the Colts Colts lost that game. Sorry, Colts lost that game, and the next one we have on par is the Vegas Raiders versus the Carolina Panthers, and I picked Vegas. I thought Vegas would win this game with Josh Jacobs. I didn't think Carolina could handle them, but Carolina handled them all the way into the fourth quarter. Vegas won 34-30. That was a tight game the whole way through. I mean, I'm very impressed with Carolina and what Matt Rule has done with that team, with not many weapons and not a lot of people. And again, as I mentioned before, Teddy Bridgewater is the perfect quarterback for Matt Rule to teach to be a starter, because he was a starter in Minnesota for a while and thrived as a backup in New Orleans. But, I didn't think he would be ready for it. But I think Matt Rule has prepared him very well, and it was definitely impressive. So moving on from that one, we've got Miami versus New England. New England didn't impress me. I think that they are exactly what everybody thought they would be, and Cam obviously scored the first rushing touchdown. That was kind of a big hype, but I was not impressed whatsoever. I think New England's offense struggled more than anything. Miami made them look goofy. Miami's offense didn't do much better, but when you're the Patriots and you go from an MVP quarterback, and I'm not saying that Tom Brady and Cam Newton are on the same level, but when you go from a 6-time Super Bowler to still an MVP quarterback that's well respected around the league, who's healthy now and clearly was doing okay, it's like what happened to Bill Belichick? Like it seems like, and granted the Patriots are 1-0 and the Bucs are 0-1, but it's like Cam Newton struggled to pass the ball, especially. And if you're struggling to pass the ball against the Dolphins, I can't even begin to tell you what's going to happen when you play the Saints, or you play even if you were to play the Buccaneers. If you struggle against the Dolphins, that's scary. And so again, New England won that game 21-11. And then the next one that made me look really goofy was the Eagles versus the Redskins. Carson Wentz got sacked 8 times. And remember that prison movie whenever it was the football team and it was Adam Sandler. I really should know the name of this movie. But Adam Sandler sold out and stopped playing because he thought he was going to get out, and then the warden lied to him, and so he went back on the field and tried to play for his guys and win the game, and they were just kind of letting him get sacked. That's what the Eagles' O-line looked like. I mean, it was awful. It was we wonder why Carson Wentz stays injured. I mean, it was terrible. I don't know what happened to that Eagles offense, or the Eagles offensive line for that matter. It was terrible. I mean, it was bad. And the Eagles lost to Washington, 27-17. The Washington football team, previously known as the Redskins, is what everybody still kind of knows them as. It's a struggle for me to switch that team name around. And so the Washington football team beat the Eagles 27-17. It's only 10 points, but still made them look stupid. Made Carson Wentz look awful. I mean, I don't think he threw for more than 200 yards. It was bad. And so then after that, the next pick that I got wrong was the Chargers versus the Bengals. The Chargers beat the Bengals 16-13. Most people picked the Chargers, but I thought that Joe Burrow was going to do a lot better. And Joe Burrow had that game sealed for them and looked pretty decent on that last drive before A.J. Green had that offensive pass interference and caused them the game. So it was definitely interesting to see Burrow play. I think he could have done much, much better. But he's a rookie. It's his first game in with a not very good offensive line. So, I can't blame him. He looked stressed in that pocket. Every time he snapped that ball, if he wasn't handing the ball off, he was like, I could see him like scrambling frantically. And so Chargers win that game, and then moving on to exactly what I told you guys. The New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I didn't even get to watch most of this game, if I'm honest with you. I didn't get to watch most of it. And I knew Breeze in that offense, especially adding Emmanuel Sanders now, is too much for that Bucs defense to handle. Why is it too much for the Bucs defense to handle? Because the Bucs have no defense. Name me one player outside of Devin White Jr. on that defense. That's right, you hear crickets because there's no one. There's literally no one. And they could not handle having Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders on the same field at the same time. And the Bucs offense looked halfway decent, but it was not up to par of what it should have been. I know Mike Evans isn't 100%, but he played, and again, the Bucs offense just did not click. It did not look good. And again, that could just be a chemistry thing. I know it's not a skill thing because all of those players are highly skilled, especially Brady. Hello, 6 rings. Stats don't lie. But the Bucks did not look good, and they looked like they could not handle it. So they lost that game. The Bucks lost that game, and yeah, so I picked that. I mean, most people pick the Saints actually, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird. But moving on, we've got the Cardinals versus the 49ers, and again, I got made look stupid this week. I mean, the 49ers lost to the Cardinals, 24-20. How do you lose to Kyler Murray when you literally just got out of losing the Super Bowl? I mean, you were the number 1 team in the NFC, and you just lost your first game to the Cardinals. I truly thought that losing Marquise Goodwin and Emmanuel Sanders wouldn't do a lot to that offense, but it did. I mean, it made a drastic change. Jimmy G did not look comfortable in the pocket. He was not throwing the ball properly. I mean, it was just like it looked like Baker Mayfield. And I mean, I hate to make that comparison, but he was stressed. Very, 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 very stressed, man. And it's so weird to see Jimmy G in that position. So, yeah, 49ers lost that game, as I mentioned, in the NFL schedule release. DeAndre Hopkins put up stupid numbers, had like 160 receiving yards, 17 catches, his career high of receptions in a game. I mean, it was crazy. And having Larry there, it's just the Cardinals are going to be scary in the NFC if they keep playing like that. And granted, it was only by 4, but still, they keep playing like that, and D-Hop keeps playing so good. I don't see why the Cardinals don't make the wild card at least, especially with the 7th seed in play. So then after that, we got the Cowboys versus the Rams. Most people chose the Cowboys because everybody thought, oh, yeah, that wide receiver corps for Dallas is scary. But when you got Dak Prescott at the helm, I mean, you noticed he could barely get a ball to anybody. That Darren Donald was blowing down, like the big bad wolf was blowing down that Dallas O-line. I mean, taking little 260-pound Ezekiel Elliott, I say little, obviously not, making him look little, taking him and just tossing him like a rag doll. I mean, it was insane. I watched part of that game. Again, same thing with the the 2 main games that I should have been watching, I didn't get to watch, which was Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Dallas, Los Angeles. I just had other stuff going on, so I couldn't really watch both of them. But the next one we got, you already know I was tuned into it last night, and all I have to say is Ben Roethlisberger had more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. Oh my God. That Steelers defensive line. And again, I know you guys are going to think, oh, it's because he's a fan. No. NFL analysts all over this country are raving about that Steelers defensive line. Again, Bud Dupree and TJ Watt, I will say it now, are my 2 candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. 100%, without a doubt in my mind, are my defensive candidates for Player of the Year. Oh my God, they looked phenomenal. The Steelers looked complete as a unit on defense. The offense struggled. I will tell you that right now. That offense struggled poorly. I mean, Ben did not impress me. It was, I feel like it could have been much better. I think obviously, there's a lot of room for improvement around the league. And so, Steelers win that game 26-16. I predicted the score would be 24-10, and I was very close. I was very, very close had we not let Sterling Shepard get open. He caught a wide open bomb in the end zone. And I will say this about Pittsburgh, Terrell Edmonds has got to go. I tweeted this out last night as I'm watching him play. Terrell Edmonds can't even cover the air he breathes. Like, he is a terrible cornerback. I don't know why he is still in Pittsburgh. Why did we not keep Mike Mitchell? And granted, Mike Mitchell's a full safety, but you could have put him in Terrell Edmonds' position and let him play, and he would have played 10 times better than him. I mean, Terrell Edmonds is awful. It's bad. Like, he was literally standing and just watching every time a Giants receiver would get a ball. He would stand there and watch, or he would be too late getting to his position. So I know that red laser pointer's going crazy in film coverage this week. Players know what I'm talking about. And, oh my God, it was bad. But I enjoy seeing my Steelers win. So on to the next game. We've got the Packers versus the Vikings, and Green Bay dominated here. Final score 43-34. The Vikings secondary had no answer for Devontae Adams as well as their run game. And, I mean, there's not much to explain about that one. Aaron Rodgers did exactly as I predicted. Came out and proved to Adam LaFleur exactly why he should not have drafted a quarterback. Then directly after this, we have Baltimore and Cleveland. Do I have to say much? We knew what was going to happen. We already knew 6 months ago what was going to happen. Baltimore is too good. Lamar Jackson picked up right where he left off of his MVP season and demolished the Browns 38-6. And then the last game of the night, we've got the Titans versus the Broncos. I picked the Broncos to win, and Steven Gostkowski broke my heart and ruined all of my dreams and hopes. They were up a point. It was 1:10 a.m. my time. Whenever it was like 5 minutes left to go in the fourth, I passed out. No lie, I passed out. I missed the end of the game. But I woke up at 4 a.m., fully expecting to be a little over 60% on all of my picks. And Siri went ahead and shot me a middle finger and said, no. Surprise, the Titans won. And I flew up out of my bed, turned my TV back on, and watched the replay. And sure enough, the Broncos have lost yet again to another last-second field goal. So that's the end of that. And so now I want to pick the major matchups for you guys for college football. And before doing that, I want to give you guys the AP's top 25, top 5, just so that you know kind of where we're at every week. So number 1, Clemson. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 4, UGA. And number 5, the University of Florida. So the first major matchup, though, that I want to touch on was Clemson versus Wake Forest. Clemson obliterated Wake Forest 37-13. And that really is the usual for them. Trevor Lawrence came out not missing a beat, 22 of 28 for 351 yards, QBR of 88.7. He went crazy. Clearly no competition for the number 1 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft this year. So Clemson takes that game. And then right after that, we've got Oklahoma versus Missouri State. Oklahoma blew them out 48-0. Oklahoma has got a new weapon, Spencer Rattler, a.k.a. Kyler Murray 2.0. This kid is an animal and is clearly a Heisman contender without a doubt in my mind. This kid was 14 of 17 for 290 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, and had a QBR of 97.7. He is phenomenal. And then the last matchup I have for you guys is Sam Ehlinger and the Texas Longhorns versus UTEP. Sam Ehlinger, again, obviously, he is an animal as well. He was 25 of 33 for 426 yards, threw for 5 touchdowns, and his QBR was kind of in between the ones of Trevor Lawrence and Spencer Rattler, where he sat at 87.5. So those are the 3 major matchups that I saw this week in college football. And so now we're going to switch gears and we're going to go back to the NFL. I want to give you guys my week 2 predictions and let you guys know what I think is going to happen. I'm not going to go as deep as scores for every game because that takes too long. So here we go. First game we have got is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Cleveland Browns. They're both 0-1 teams after this week. I personally see Joe Burrow doing a little bit better behind that offensive line, especially against the Browns. I'll take Cincinnati in that one. And then after that, we've got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody's thinking the Cowboys are going to win. Again, both teams 0-1 after week 1. I think personally that Todd Gurley's going to bounce back this week, have a way better week, and Atlanta's going to defeat Dallas. I don't know why I'm so high on Atlanta, but I really like them and what they've developed. And, I think I'm going to go with Atlanta. And then after that, we got Buffalo versus Miami. There's no explanation there. Buffalo all day. Josh Allen, he did phenomenal, as mentioned before. And, so Buffalo in that game. Then New York versus Chicago. Chicago's the favorite here. They're 1-0, beat Detroit. Personally, I think Saquon has a much better game. He comes back out with a newfound sense of confidence after getting demolished by that Steelers D-line and wins this game against Chicago. And so I give New York that game. And then back to my Steelers, we've got Denver versus Pittsburgh. This is at least half of my friends, including Nick Gimble, versus me, because all of them are Broncos fans and I'm a Steelers fan. So Denver's 0-1 after losing. Pittsburgh's 1-0 after winning against the Giants. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one. I think even though Denver has somewhat of a good O-line, it can't be much better than New York's. It can't be. There's no way that it is. So I'm taking Pittsburgh in that one, and that's going to be Sunday at 1. So, I'll be watching that. And then next one we have is Detroit versus Green Bay. Green Bay's taking Detroit whole way. No shot that they don't. Aaron Rodgers coming off of a hot game. He is going to ride that wave, and I personally think he's going to ride it till the end of the season. I have no doubt in Aaron Rodgers being – I personally think they're going to win, and I think they're going to win the NFC North. I don't see anybody else topping them, and especially after what they did to Minnesota, that gives me even more confidence. So then after that, we got Jacksonville versus Tennessee. Tennessee is going to win that. I don't know. Well, you know what? Actually, just for my dumb luck, I'm going to give the game to Jacksonville. I think that if Gardner Minshew continues what he was doing against the Colts, against Tennessee, I don't see any reason how Tennessee could stop them. So I'm going to take Jacksonville in that game. Tennessee's the favorite. I'm going to go ahead and take Jacksonville just because look at what happened last week. And then Minnesota Vikings versus the Indianapolis Colts. Well, I mean, you guys know how high I am on the Colts. Personally, I want the Colts to win this game, and I think they have every resource available to do it. But Phillip Rivers has got to be better. That's the only thing I will say about Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers and the Colts secondary has to be better in order for them to win this game because Adam Thielen will burn them as long as like the Colts secondary plays the way they did last week. Adam Thielen will burn them along with Justin Jefferson. Both of them will just torch that secondary without a doubt. So I'll take Indianapolis in that game, but I think Minnesota has a pretty strong chance of winning if Indianapolis repeats what they did in Jacksonville. So then you've got Los Angeles, the Rams, versus the Eagles. Carson Wentz got sacked 8 times, and you saw what Aaron Donald did to Dallas. So I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Rams are beating the Eagles all day long, without a doubt in my mind. And then next is the 49ers versus, you know it, the Le'Veon Bell-less Jets and the disaster that Adam Gase has created. 49ers all day long. No way the Jets beat them. And, that's 49ers versus Jets. 49ers win. Carolina Panthers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll tell you what. Carolina plays against Tampa Bay the way that they played against Oakland. Carolina's going to win this game. Without a doubt in my mind, they will win this game if they play like they did against Oakland. But I don't have that much confidence because who knows, that could have been a fluke. I mean, Matt Rule did, like I said, Matt Rule's done a great job, but who knows, that could have been a complete fluke. So personally, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. But I think Carolina could do everything they can to win that game if they play exactly how they played against Oakland. Then next is Washington versus the Arizona Cardinals. And these are the two teams that really surprised me last week. And so personally, this is really a tough decision for me. The favorite is obviously going to be the Cardinals, without a doubt. But same situation. If Washington plays the way that they played last week against the Cardinals, but it's both ways. If they both play to their full potential this week, it's going to be a hell of a game. But personally, I got to say, I'm going to take Kyler Murray and D-Hop over Washington. So the Cardinals. Then you've got Chiefs versus Chargers. Chargers looked really good. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Kansas City, though. Reigning Super Bowl champions, Patrick Mahomes. They looked great against Houston, and I think they'll look even better against Los Angeles. So then speaking of Houston, we've got Baltimore versus Houston. I'm taking Baltimore. Bill O'Brien and that whole mess. Bill O'Brien and Adam Gase got to be related in some way. I mean, they seriously have both created disasters in their organizations. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they did the stuff that they did. But, oh my God, they have taken teams and just drove them into the ground after being decent. So, Baltimore in that game, Lamar Jackson, probably going to be MVP again. So, unless it's Russell Wilson. I'm going to say now that if the MVP is not Lamar Jackson, it will be Russell Wilson. On 100% without a doubt. And also, again, kind of flows into the same conversation, speaking of Russell Wilson, we've got Sunday night, the primetime matchup. It is going to be the New England Patriots Super Bowl rematch versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm taking Seattle all day long, without a doubt in my mind. Again, like I said earlier, Cam did not impress me at all. He did not impress me. He had okay statistics, but he did not impress me whatsoever. And if they think they're going to struggle and only beat Miami by 10 points, that after what Seattle did to Atlanta, they're not going to stomp New England's head in, you're crazy. Seattle, all day long, without a doubt in my mind. Then Monday night football on my platform that I want to work for, ESPN. We have got the New Orleans Saints versus the Las Vegas Raiders. This is going to be tough. Here's why. I have arguments with my friends and colleagues all the time. Josh Jacobs is not a top 5 running back. People think I'm crazy. But when you look at numbers, Even though he did not rush as much last year, he still did not put anywhere near numbers of any other running back that I would put in my top 5 at all. But what I will say is, after what I saw against Carolina, he's impressive. He's going to end up being in my top 5 by the end of the year more than likely. Because Saquon has not done anything. Granted, we're only in week 1. But if Saquon runs the way he did against Pittsburgh for the rest of the season, I got bad news for you, Giants fans. It's not going to be good for you. Because all you have is Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. You've got a second-year quarterback and a few mediocre offensive weapons outside of Saquon Barkley. If Saquon Barkley plays to his prime, y'all are fine. You'll be okay. But if Saquon Barkley keeps running like that, like he ran against Pittsburgh, y'all are in trouble. So I will say, though, Josh Jacobs is pretty good, and I think that if he can propel – I'll tell you what. I'll make a promise to you. I will put Josh Jacobs somewhere in my top 5 list of running backs if he can help the Vegas Raiders overcome the New Orleans Saints and win that game. I'm personally going to pick the Saints, but if Josh Jacobs can help the Raiders and propel themselves to win that game against New Orleans, Josh Jacobs will be in my top 5, without a doubt. So then, after this, we've got week 3 of college football. And there have only been a few games that I picked out that really, again, stuck out to me. There's not a lot of them right now. But the first one being Tulsa versus Oklahoma State. If you know me, I'm a Chuba Hubbard guy. I've been saying that he will be a top 15 pick for the past year. If he declares at any time, he will be a top 15 pick. And he's only, I think he's a junior. No, he's a junior this year. He was a sophomore last year. I guarantee you this kid will be a top 15 pick. And then that's that's one of the matchups. And the next one I got, obviously, Clemson versus Citadel. I mean, this isn't. Here's my thing about Clemson. I am a Trevor Lawrence guy. I know he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He's a phenomenal, once-in-a-lifetime talent. But what I will say about them is that on their regular season schedule, they play no one. I mean, literally no one. The only teams that they play that I will give them as potential challenges is Notre Dame and Pitt. That's it. Those are the only 2 challenges that I feel they have. I mean, other than that, I don't see anything. Like, what else could there be? I mean, they play West Virginia, Virginia. I mean, really, there's not a lot of other teams they play. So I'll tell you what. I've got this up on my laptop right here in front of me. Let me do you guys a favor. I'll pull this up and read it to you. So the Clemson Tigers play, their first game was Wake Forest. Like I said, beat them 37-13. Trevor Lawrence had a great game. Next one, Citadel. After that, Virginia. Next, Miami. Next, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College. Here's one of them, Notre Dame. Florida State, Pitt, and Virginia Tech. Now, I get it. We're in an interconference kind of tight schedule due to COVID, but there are better people in the ACC to play than freaking Citadel. Like, come on. Like, Clemson has got to do a better job of picking their schedule to at least make it look like they're a challenging team. I mean, look at what LSU did to them. They had no answer for LSU's offense in that national championship game. Nothing. Burned them on every down. And that's the same. This is why I compare Alabama. Because if you look at, like, Alabama's schedule, they play nobody as well. The only people, they're going to play an all-conference schedule this year, so I'm really excited to see what happens. Because Florida's number 5. So my thing is, if Alabama were to play other people that were harder opponents, they would be much more respected. And I have that same philosophy about Clemson. So I just feel like, I feel like Clemson hasn't really, they've got Trevor Lawrence and their running back, Etienne, but they haven't earned my respect yet. They haven't. So let's see. Let's look down here. So that's pretty much it. I mean, UCF versus Georgia Tech's going to happen. UCF's first game back. Their last game got postponed. I'm sure it's because of COVID reasons. So it's their first game back. Pretty exciting for them. They have a great program. They're local here. The school I go to, Daytona State, is a direct connect to them, so I have a lot of ties to them. They are a good team. I have plenty of family and friends with season tickets, so I've been to a few games of theirs. And, I like UCF. I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I do like them as a program. And so those are the only teams I'm really seeing that are going to be interesting. So my picks are obviously going to be Oklahoma State, Clemson, and I'll take UCF. Yeah, Oklahoma State, Clemson, and UCF. Those are my 3 picks for college this week. And next week we'll have a little more interesting games. I'm looking at the schedule here. The reigning, defending LSU Tigers play next week after this. So we'll have a little bit more interesting of a schedule next week. So that is going to be how I wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this. I know it's going to be a work in progress because there's not a ton of stuff going on right now, especially with COVID and everything that's happening. So it's going to be difficult to cover every week for NCAA purposes because there's not enough interesting stuff going on. And if you had Clemson playing more difficult opponents, I'd watch the Clemson game more than anything. But they're playing Citadel. Like, come on, who are they? Tell me. No one can. It's just like not being able to tell me a defensive player outside of Devin White Jr. on the Buccaneers. So regardless, I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, please don't forget, go stream the Second Chance Sports Challenge. That has done, again, amazing numbers, and I can't thank you all enough for getting my subscriber rate up on YouTube. My views are up, everything. This has gone crazy. So I'm going to have a lot more important guests. And so it's definitely going to be exciting. So please don't forget, like, rate, subscribe. Stay tuned for a new episode of the Second Chance Sports Challenge coming to you sometime soon. I don't quite know when yet, but it's about to happen. I'm about to have my next interview. So again, one more time, plug, like, rate, subscribe. Go check out the @Second Chance Pod Instagram and Twitter. And we will see y'all soon. Thanks for tuning in.